Hey guys, Ben here and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Greg Berlanti, who is obviously the creator of the Arrowverse. He is the main producer. He's actually done an interview talking about the Arrowverse, so we've got to break it down. So if you do go on to enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like and a comment and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos later this year. Okay guys, so Greg Berlanti has done an interview with comicbook.com where he talks about the future of DC, and this interview is because he is directing a new film and the film is coming out soon, and that's basically the reason for this interview. But obviously comicbook.com, being a comic book site, took the time out to ask them about, DC, would he come back, the status of the Arrowverse coming to an end, like with Superman and Lois being the final show, and everything like that. So we're going to break this down bit by bit, talk about it and analyze it after we go through the quotes. So this is how the article goes. For over a decade, the CW aired multiple interconnected television programs based on DC characters in a franchise known as the Arrowverse. Beginning with Arrow in 2012, that Stephen Amell led series spawned spin-offs like The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl, Batwoman and Superman and Lois. The mastermind behind all of the aforementioned programs was producer Greg Berlanti. And so, speaking to comicbook.com at the Fly Me to the Moon junket, his new film, Berlanti reflected on his time working in the CW's Arrowverse, admitting he does not see himself being able to recreate that experience. So talking about the Arrowverse, he doesn't believe he could do it again. He could spawn a new universe. Obviously with James Gunn and Peter Safran creating a new DCU, obviously they're now in the driver's seat like he was for TV. He really created such a successful TV multiverse franchise. Like, it was huge, it was so many shows, and he can't be overlooked. So I think when people talk about, who could take over DC, when it was like a couple of years ago, everyone's speculating. I mean, of course Greg Berlanti's name would have been put in there, but in the end they went for James Gunn, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's happening. But this is what Greg Berlanti had to say in the interview. He says, "I kind of feel like I served my time doing the Arrowverse projects. It was a real special moment in my life creatively, and I don't know that I would ever be able to recreate that experience again. The people I got to do it with and the actors I got to work with, that I'm still close with, it was a really special time." So that's the first part of his quote. We'll go on to the next bit in a minute, but let's break this down. So he has admitted that he thinks his time with DC, or his time with the Arrowverse, is done for now. Now, as Superman Lois is the last show that he is producing, and even though, they've separated themselves from the Arrowverse, it's still an Arrowverse show, they're just not on Earth Prime. And so with that in mind, all of this is in the past for Greg Berlanti. So he has to move forward. He's directing a film. He's obviously previously directed films like Love, Simon. He could go on to direct a lot more, and there's nothing to say that Greg at one point, because he's going to be extremely valued at DC and Warner Brothers for a long time, that he could not maybe go on to direct a DC Universe project. I would actually really love that. I would be totally into that if Greg was given the reins of a project. Now, I don't know what project that would be, but it would be later on. It probably wouldn't be in the first chapter, so it wouldn't be like any of the films coming out soon or any of the TV shows. But if you look forward to maybe like a Green Arrow film, like he would be great at doing that in like phase 2 of the DCU. So I would totally be down for that. Let me know, what do you think about that in the comments down below, because he is a good director if you've seen his films, and he's a great producer. He knows DC inside and out, and doing a character he knows so well like Arrow, that would be great. I think that would be the perfect fit. And so he feels like it's in his rearview mirror right now, and it was a special moment in his life, but that moment has passed and he's moved on. He's directing, he's doing other stuff, so he doesn't feel like he can really go back into that world just yet. And so the people that obviously he got to do it with, some amazing actors like Grant Gustin, Melissa Benoist, and the list goes on and on and on. And then also the creatives he got to work with, his fellow producers and the showrunners of the shows, and obviously the cast and crew. There were some really talented people working on it, and he's still very close to a lot of them. So you could see him directing a film with like Grant Gustin in it in the future, totally. And so yeah, it was a special time. But let's move on to the next bit of this article. So comicbook.com says, Berlanti spent 11 years of his career producing DC related projects for the CW. He teamed up with Mark Guggenheim and Andrew Kreisberg to create, write and produce a television series based on Green Arrow back in 2012, which was obviously Arrow, and that brought about The Flash afterwards in Arrow Season 2. And so weeks before Alan's guest episode aired, the CW ordered a pilot for The Flash, picking up the project for a full 6 months later. And so the momentum behind the Arrowverse barreled from there, with multiple spin-offs and crossover episodes coming in the subsequent years. Now when you look back at it did actually spin off like really fast, because obviously you had The Flash and that premiered in 2014, and then after that obviously they had some time to kind of bed in, and the Arrowverse kind of started with them because they had their mini crossovers at first. And then just a year later, after The Flash Season 1, we had Supergirl, and then after that we went on to Legends of Tomorrow, and then you got Black Lightning, and then you have Battle, and then it just goes on and on and on. So they are completely right, like it just all happened very quick. And I think the success of the universe is by how the CW backed them all so quick. They picked them up, they weren't hesitant, they were bold. And that's what was so good about the old CW regime, because they weren't scared to go for these projects. And yeah, some of them cost a lot of money, but it was worth it in the end because they had a Netflix deal at that time, which made the CW a good amount of money. And so let's move on to what he had to say to finish this video and to finish this article. He said, "I want them to succeed in all the ways that we were able to do." And he was talking about the DC universe. And he says, "I do anything to help anybody, but I have to say for us, that was a real Camelot moment of everything." So that's like him pulling out the sword from the stone. It's an insane moment. And so while he doesn't have like official ties or any concrete involvement in DC right now, definitely, as I said earlier, I could see him being involved at some point, whether it's with TV or whether it's directing. It definitely can happen because he is a successful director already. He's made some good films, and as he says, "I do anything to help anybody." So the door isn't shut, and I think they would be wise to get him involved somehow, just based on his experience building this whole universe. Like, it's a really big achievement, and he was kind of the one behind the scenes kind of pulling the strings. Yeah, he's not the one directing the episodes or writing the episodes or, you know, necessarily being super involved in one specific show or multiple shows. He was just there kind of overseeing the Arrowverse, overseeing all the different projects, and so that's why he was so important. And I do like that he's coming out and specifically stating that I want them to succeed in all the ways that we were able to do, because it's true. Like, we need to, as DC fans, support what's happening. You can't be like a fan who maybe likes Henry Cavill and then sees a new version of Superman and be like, "Oh, I don't want to see this version of Superman, it's not my favorite actor," or something like that. It's like, we have to accept it. Yeah, it sucks that, you know, Grant Gustin isn't the Flash, but you could get a Flash who is as good if we have faith. You know, you need to stick around for that. So I think the DC will succeed, and I think, you know, it's really nice that Greg is coming out and saying this, but he didn't have to say this. So I think people will appreciate that, and no doors are shut right now, and he'd be willing to do anything to help anybody. So I think, James Gunn, if you're watching this video, hire Greg Berlanti, get him involved somehow, whether it's TV, film, directing, producing. You gotta get him involved, because he definitely would have made a big impact if he were to obviously have a role in the DCU, but he doesn't have one because, you know, rightly so. He's got to have some space, and he's got to think about his future career, and now he's doing more and more directing. That's very important to him. And as he said, the Arrowverse is a thing of the past now. Superman and Lois is coming out later this year, but that's it. It's over. And even though it's sad to say that, it's just the harsh reality. So that pretty much does it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a like and a comment. Also subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. So we're uploading right now pretty much daily, so stick around and you won't miss any videos on the channel. We do DC, we do other sorts of topics. You know, there's lots of you guys, especially as Superman and Lois is coming out later this year. We're going to be talking about all of that. So for now, you can click on the top right corner of the screen to watch my latest video. and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.